Angie has made it easier than ever to connect with skilled professionals to get all your jobs projects done well. If you own a home, you know how much work it can take, whether it's everyday maintenance and repairs or making dream projects a reality. It can be hard just to know where to start, but now all you need to do is Angie that and find a skilled local pro who will deliver the quality and expertise you need. Angie has over 20 years of home service experience, and they've combined it with new tools to simplify the whole process. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app, answer a few questions, and Angie can handle the rest from start to finish, or help you compare quotes from multiple pros and connect instantly, which means you can take care of just about any home project in just a few taps. Because when it comes to getting the most out of your home, you can do this when you Angie that. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com.
At Evernorth Health Services, we believe costs shouldn't get in the way of life-changing care, and we're doing everything in our power to make it possible. Behavioral health solutions that also keep your projections at their best? It's possible. Pharmacy benefits that benefit your bottom line? It's possible. Complex specialty care that cares about your ROI? It's possible. Because we're already doing it. All while saving businesses billions. That's Wonder made possible. Learn more at evernorth.com/wonder.
This episode of Ghost Town may contain disturbing or graphic descriptions, which may not be suitable for all audiences. Please use discretion while listening. A home invasion. I'm Jason Horton.
I'm Rebecca Lieb.
And this is Ghost Town.
On April 4th, 1922, the bodies of the Gruber family and their maid, Maria Baumgartner, were found brutally murdered on the Hinterkaifeck farm, sparking a chilling investigation leading to one of the most notorious cold cases in world history. It's a case 100 years of scrutiny still can't really solve, and involves ghosts, stalkers, conspiracy, and love triangles, all on a beautiful Bavarian farmscape. Today we're talking about one of Germany's eeriest and most famous unsolved crimes, the Hinterkaifeck Murders. Located near the woods outside of the town of Grobern, about an hour's drive from Munich, was a farm called Hinterkaifeck, a remote but picturesque Bavarian farmstead built around 1863. The owners of Hinterkaifeck were the Gruber family. It was 1922, and Bavaria, the founding region of the future Nazi Party, would grow the area exponentially as the Weimar Republic weakened and Germany's economic and political problems escalated. But that would come later. The patriarch and matriarch of the Gruber family was 63-year-old Andreas and his 72-year-old wife, Kazilia. After the death of her husband in World War I, their daughter, 35-year-old widow Victoria Gabriel, moved back in with her two small children, Kazilia, age 7, the younger one, and 2-year-old Joseph. The five lived with their new maid, 44-year-old Maria Baumgartner, who had just been hired days before the terrifying events that would occur on the last day of May in 1922. To neighbors, the arrangement was not exactly harmonious. Andreas Gruber would act extremely aggressively to his wife, children, and neighbors, quick to physically attack with a pitchfork or a shotgun. He was even known to lock his children in the cold cellar for days during wintertime. One of his other daughters, Sophie, died as a result of the abuse. Of course, this meant that the family was known for keeping to themselves. But even so, neighbors grew concerned when on April 1st, young Kazilia missed school. Later, the entire family failed to show up to church where Victoria sang in the choir. Kazilia missed school again the next couple of days, and mail for the family had begun to pile up at the local post office. On the morning of April 4th, local mechanic Albert Hoffner went to Hinterkaifeck to repair an engine. He later told police that he had not seen anyone on the property, none of the family, and had heard nothing but the sounds of the farm animals and the howling of the family dog inside the barn. After waiting for an hour for Andreas to show, he decided to start his repairs, which were completed in roughly 4.5 hours, and then he left. Also that day, coffee sellers Hans Szurawski and Edward Szurawski knocked on the Grubers' door and received no reply. Also that day, coffee sellers and brothers Hans Szurawski and Edward Szurawski knocked on the Grubers' door and received no reply. Similarly, knocks on the window gained also no response, and so the two men walked around the yard but found nobody. The only thing they noticed was the gate to the machine house was open, likely, perhaps, from the mechanic. So, the brothers left. Around 3:30 p.m. the same day, Lorenz Schlittenbauer sent his 16-year-old son Johann, along with his 9-year-old stepson Josef, to the Hinterkaifeck farmstead to check in on the Gruber family. The boys eventually returned home and reported that they had seen absolutely no one at Hinterkaifeck. With concerns mounting, Schlittenbauer himself headed to the farm later that day with neighbors Michael Pohl and Jacob Siegel. The three men entered the barn, and what they saw was haunting and unforgettable. There they found the bodies of Andreas Gruber, Kazilia Gruber, Victoria Gabriel, and young Kazilia covered in hay. Schlittenbauer then went into the farmhouse shortly afterwards, where he found the maid, Maria Baumgartner, and the youngest family member, Josef, murdered inside. Like the bodies in the barn, theirs were also covered, Maria's with bed sheets and Josef's with one of his mother's dresses. The farm animals and a Pomeranian watchdog remained completely unharmed. Chillingly, they had even been taken care of and fed in the several days that had passed where the bodies remained undiscovered. It is also interesting to note, and perhaps chilling as well, that this was Maria Baumgartner's first day on the job. The previous maid, Crescence Reiger, had quit due to a fervent belief that the house and farm were haunted. You can see photos of the crime scene yourself online. They are so vivid and chilling despite being from the early 20s. I don't know if there's filters on them or what have you, but proceed with caution. It will give you a sense of the rural nature of the Hinterkaifeck farms and the homestead, and also just, again, how brutal these murders actually were. Let's circle back to that strange detail that the previous maid quit due to some odd beliefs. These beliefs weren't in a vacuum, though. In fact, in the weeks and months leading up to the end of March 1922, several strange occurrences happened in and around Hinterkaifeck that were reported to the public. 6 months previously, Crescence Reiger, the old family maid, abruptly quit because she was frightened of the strange noises coming from the attic, fervently again believing the property to be haunted. In March 1922, Andreas Gruber came across a strange newspaper from Munich on the property. He couldn't remember buying it and initially believed that the postman had lost the newspaper somehow. However, as no one in the vicinity subscribed to the newspaper, its appearance was puzzling. Equally as strange was the disappearance of a key to the farmhouse that, again, mysteriously vanished. Just days before the fateful night of March 31st, Gruber told neighbors that he had discovered unidentifiable footprints. He went on to say that these footprints led from the forest to a broken door lock in the farm's machine room. Later, during that night, the family reportedly heard footsteps in the attic, but when Gruber went to investigate, nobody was there. Again, he talked with friends and neighbors about his experiences, but refused any help and did not go to the police. And then there was the incident with young Kazilia Gabriel, who told a classmate that her mother Victoria had fled the farm the night of Thursday, March 30th, after a bad fight with her parents. She was found hours later, disoriented in the surrounding forest. The next day, on the afternoon of Friday, March 31st, 1922, Maria Baumgartner arrived at the farm. She was escorted to Hinterkaifeck by her sister, who left after a brief stay. As police began to investigate the murders, they concluded that Baumgartner's sister was likely the last person to see the Gruber family and her own sister alive. Police deduced that at some point during the late evening of March 31st, Andreas, Kazilia, Victoria, and young Kazilia were lured away from the house one at a time to the farmstead barn through the stable, where they were attacked and murdered. The killer, or killers, had used a mattock, a kind of small pickaxe that belonged to the family farm, to kill them all, inflicting debilitating blows to each of the family members' heads. The perpetrator then took the Maddock to the Gruber house, killing a sleeping Josef in his bassinet, as well as Baumgartner, who was found in her own bedroom. All of the bodies would be undiscovered until Schlittenbauer's party found them 4 days later. Inspector Georg Weingruber and his department investigated the killings, though initial discoveries and processing were hampered by the number of people who had interacted with the crime scene, moving bodies and items around, and even cooking and eating meals in the kitchen. The reports from the family's autopsies, conducted by court physician Dr. Johann Baptist M. Mueller, was horrifying. Kazilia showed signs of strangulation and endured 7 blows to the head, cracking her skull. The face of her husband, Andreas, was caked with blood, his cheekbones shattered and protruding from his skull. Victoria's skull was also smashed, her head showing 9 star-shaped wounds, and the right side of her face was hit with a blunt object. The younger Kazilia's lower jaw had been shattered, and her face and neck were found covered in gaping circular wounds. While the elder Kazilia, Andreas, and Victoria likely died instantly from their attacks, the younger Kazilia likely remained alive and in shock for several hours after hers. The autopsy showed that she had even, somewhat inexplicably, ripped her own hair out in clumps. Initial suspects included vagrants or other traveling men come to the farm to burglarize it, but that theory weakened after large sums of money were found within the house. Besides the covering of the bodies, nothing had been disturbed, though again, incredibly chillingly, there was evidence that the killer, even before the cops went in and did their own kind of hanging out, remained at the farm for several days, feeding the animals, eating meals, and lighting fires in the fireplace. When the police questioned the former maid, Chrysanths Reiger, about her belief that the property was haunted, she never wavered, saying that she constantly heard sounds in the attic and experienced an unsettling feeling of being watched. The old maid's belief that the house was haunted, the footsteps, the sounds, the smoking chimney in the days that followed the crime. Clearly, the Gruber's murderer had somehow been on or lived around the property, perhaps before, during, and after the deadly crimes. Per a report from the German site Allegamini, police at the time also failed to secure any fingerprints from the crime scene because they were clearly very negligent. The farmstead itself was also razed shortly after the murders, making it near impossible to find any usable DNA evidence from the crime scene, but we will get to that in a bit. Several men connected to the family began to form as suspects, mostly because of the level of chaos and conspiracy at the remote farm. The suspects, the theories, after the break.
Angie has made it easier than ever to connect with skilled professionals to get all your jobs projects done well. If you own a home, you know how much work it can take, whether it's everyday maintenance and repairs or making dream projects a reality. It can be hard just to know where to start, but now all you need to do is Angie that and find a skilled local pro who will deliver the quality and expertise you need. Angie has over 20 years of home service experience, and they've combined it with new tools to simplify the whole process. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app, answer a few questions, and Angie can handle the rest from start to finish, or help you compare quotes from multiple pros and connect instantly, which means you can take care of just about any home project in just a few taps. Because when it comes to getting the most out of your home, you can do this when you Angie that. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com.
On June 7th, inspired by the unbelievable true story of a fake hitman, comes the new movie, Hitman, from Academy Award nominee Richard Linklater. At 96% certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, critics are calling Hitman a smart, sexy crime thriller with surprises at every turn. Starring Glenn Powell and Adria Arjona. Hitman, now playing in select theaters and on Netflix June 7th. Rated R.
Hi, hello, how are you?
Hello.
How are you doing?
How's it going out there?
We are checking in with you.
You know what this is.
Yeah, you know.
You
don't
know
lie.
as well as we do what
Don't
this
lie.
is.
Don't be coy.
We've
Be like,
all
what?
been here before. Oh, they stopped talking for a second.
Oh.
You know what's going on.
Well, we want to say hello to anyone who's listening, supporting us, spreading the good word of Ghost Town. Thank you. So much down deep inside. I want to talk about our mayors.
It's important.
Yeah, they're political figures, but do you know that they're salt of the earth? They work the farm.
They do.
Oh, yeah.
Safely and conscientiously. No bad, nefarious crimes happening with them because they are just simple farmers.
This mayor is the one who coined the phrase farm to table. That's how farm they are. Listen,
All tables and farms.
you're going to find this hard to believe. I don't know much about farms or farming, but
Wow.
these mayors do. And farm to table has been coined by Marissa Rothermel.
Hello.
This mayor knows how to do one thing and one thing only: to work that mulch.
He's a mulcher. He's a mulch man.
He's a mulch. He's a mulchman. I guess.
Mulchman. Mm-hmm.
Well, working that mulch. Mm-hmm. The only way they know how is Matthew Clemens Leray.
Hello.
This mayor tills. I don't know
The
what
soil?
Yeah, they till the soil with the little rake.
They make, you kind of you're mixing it up. You're getting it loose.
Yeah,
I don't know.
they till the soil. They toil and they till.
Till and toil.
Well, if you want to know all about it, you're going to want to talk to Emma Hopkins.
Hello.
This mayor churns their own butter. Some supermarket butter? No, thank you. They churn their own butter like it's Amish country.
Mm-hmm. They work.
Or the Renaissance Fair.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of places. Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, they did that as well.
Yeah.
You can churn butter wherever, but it is hard work.
Well, the churn master general is Casey Weber.
Hello.
This mayor knows one thing and one thing only: fertilizer.
It's important to know.
Yeah. I mean, is fertilizer dangerous? It seems so. I feel like there's fertilizer that's like in like explosives.
Yeah,
and
but
stuff
there's like organic fertilizer too.
Yeah.
But
Made
we would
from-
know about it, but this person might.
Yeah. This person knows. It's like, yeah, I mean, like, is the Dow company like evil? Sure. Do they do
Yeah.
fertilizer? Probably.
I don't know.
I'll tell you who doesn't want to hear it but knows a lot about it is Kelly Meehan.
Hello.
You ever hear of John Deere?
I have.
You want to know who John Deere's heard of?
Who?
This mayor, the true inspiration for all John Deere riding mowers and the fleet
John Deere
of things.
stuff. A lot of John Deere stuff out
A
there.
lot of John Deere stuff. And the person who really, really is the brains behind the whole thing.
John Deere's muse?
Yeah. John Deere is essentially
We are reaching.
John Deere is essentially just like a kind of like a placeholder name. You know what I mean?
Name?
Yeah.
Oh, so this person is like just
I would argue that this name is way cooler and way catchier. We're talking about Cat Joselle.
hello.
This mayor has one specialty. Various threatening keep out signs.
Ooh.
I mean,
like keep out dog on the property.
Yeah,
keep
keep
out.
out.
This place is getting monitored.
yeah, they
They're
keep
flashy.
out like
in the dark they get illuminated.
it's like kind of like, and it's like a picture of like a 6-gun or something just like shooting at you. It's like, all right, like relax.
Whoa.
But this person, if you want people to be kept out, you're going to want them to make your signs. And that sign maker general is Ashley Matson.
Hello.
And our governor, who cares about the farm and the land. The only thing she'll put above that is the almighty dollar.
As she should.
Factory farming, GMO.
Bottom line. She's in good company.
It's like Frankenstein food. Just put one. How do we make corn?
Genetically, like
anything with corn.
any season, just like tomatoes getting redder under a hot light.
It's just kind of like like soybean oil, big dollar Monsanto.
Pristine genome.
If one of their seeds blows over onto your farm and it happens to get implanted in there and grows on there, they can sue you and take away your farm. I think that's something Monsanto does do, right?
That's right. Yeah. They're like the little house of horrors. They're insane plants. And if there's even a glimmer of their plant in your plant, you're done. You're done.
And one person who will absolutely decimate it with a big, just a concrete mixer and just dump it. I don't know. People are in the farm. Too bad.
Yeah.
They done. That is our governor, Avian Noble. If you want no ads, no chit-chat, bonus episodes, just the good stuff, 7 days free, head on over to patreon.com/ghosttownpod. All right, you want to get back into it?
Back to Bavaria. After Andreas Gruber, Kazilia Gruber, Victoria Gabriel, Victoria's children, Kazilia and Josef, and the maid, Maria Baumgartner, were found dead, police were confounded. So they looked at the family dynamics to see what they could find. And they found some things. First, with daughter Victoria. She was a widow whose husband had died in World War I, and up until that point and beyond, her ex's remains were unidentified. Police also realized that years ago she had been in a relationship with Lorenz Schlittenbauer, the very man who had discovered the bodies, and both had publicly referred to Josef as their child. They planned to get married until Andreas interfered, and their relationship sadly ended. Schlittenbauer eventually married someone else, and they had a child who unfortunately died in infancy. Naturally, Schlittenbauer, as a neighbor, was still close to the family and would have known the grounds and would have known the relationships happening at Hinterkaifeck. Because of this, police zeroed in on Schlittenbauer, who again lived just a few hundred yards from the Hinterkaifeck homestead. Police thought that, traumatized by the death of his baby and unwilling to pay child support for Josef, he'd come to the farm in a rage and murdered Victoria and her family. The theory was perpetuated because the guys who were with him when he found the bodies, Michael Pohl and Jacob Siegel, found this behavior of his to be suspicious. They said that Schlittenbauer acted nonchalant around the gruesome scene, viewing and handling the bodies comfortably. Though it could have been a result of shock, he also, of course, knew the farm. He knew the people involved. How that plays into him as a suspect, you can decide. The police questioned Schlittenbauer extensively, but were themselves unable to conclusively place him at the crime scene. So they moved on to another suspect, this one even arguably weaker, Victoria's husband, Carl Gabriel, theorizing that he was actually alive and had come back from the war and killed the whole family. Of course, police realized that he had indeed been killed in France on December 29, 1914, in the first few months of World War I. Many of his fellow soldiers, despite not knowing where his remains were, attested to seeing his body. Another conspiracy theory about the case postulated that Josef was actually the child of Victoria and her own father, that one of them had killed the entire family before turning the matic on themselves. This theory doesn't come out of nowhere, sadly. In 1914, Andreas Gruber was sentenced to 1 year in prison for incest, and Victoria was sentenced to 1 month in prison as well. This was the same year that Victoria's husband, Carl, died in France. Andreas's proclivities for incest and abuse were frequently discussed in the neighboring towns. Supposedly, Andreas had had other children with Kazilia besides Victoria, but she was the only one to survive his violent hands into adulthood. But still, according to the coroner, none of the injuries to the bodies could be explained as self-inflicted, so that would be entirely impossible. Police then concluded that the murderer had to be someone who didn't live at the farm. The question was, who? The only thing they really knew was that the crimes were committed by someone very familiar with Hinterkaifeck, and that they seemed to be crimes of passion against one or several of the Grubers. But beyond that, police were at a standstill, and the case was eventually closed. In 1923, the farm was demolished, and the family lays buried in a plot in Weidhofen, Germany. Unfortunately, they were buried without their heads, which were sent for examination with the autopsies to a lab in Munich. In his book, Hinterkaifeck, Spuren eines mysteriösen Verbrechens, Hinterkaifeck, The Traces of a Mysterious Crime, author Peter Leuschner details how the bodies of the Gruber family and the maid were beheaded not long after the original autopsies. and the skulls sent to Munich, where they were examined for metaphysical clues. Sadly, nothing came of the heads, or the examinations around the heads, or of any other clairvoyant work around the case. Even more sadly, the family's skulls were lost during World War II. The case was officially closed in 1955, opened again in the mid-'80s, closed and re-examined again in the early 2000s. Most notably, technical college students from the Police University of Applied Sciences in Fürstenfeldbruck conducted an analysis of the crime, ultimately concluding that, quote, the crime was triggered by a personal, emotional conflict. Because of the relatively basic forensic techniques employed during the original investigation, in addition to the missing evidence and the later deaths of some suspects, the Fürstenfeldbruck school were not able to conclusively identify the murderer, though they all did agree that there is a theory that points to what happened that night. Out of respect for surviving family members of people related to the crime, however, that theory remains a secret under lock and key. At this point, it might be unlikely that the public will ever know who definitively committed the murders or why. It seems that after 100 years of analysis and worldwide attention, not much additional information has been collected about the intriguing and heartbreaking cold case, one that, a century later, still captures the attention of German true crime enthusiasts and the world at large.
Angie has made it easier than ever to connect with skilled professionals to get all your jobs projects done well. If you own a home, you know how much work it can take, whether it's everyday maintenance and repairs or making dream projects a reality. It can be hard just to know where to start, but now all you need to do is Angie that and find a skilled local pro who will deliver the quality and expertise you need. Angie has over 20 years of home service experience, and they've combined it with new tools to simplify the whole process. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app, answer a few questions, and Angie can handle the rest from start to finish, or help you compare quotes from multiple pros and connect instantly, which means you can take care of just about any home project in just a few taps. Because when it comes to getting the most out of your home, you can do this when you Angie that. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com.
What impact do you want to have on the world? At General Dynamics Information Technology, GDIT, we put technology to work on some of the most complex government, defense, health, and intelligence missions. Grow your career beyond your imagination with meaningful work that matters at an award-winning top workplace. If you are driven by a vision of a better and more secure future, join us and apply now at gdit.com/careers. What impact do you want to have on the world? At General Dynamics Information Technology, GDIT, we put technology to work on some of the most complex government, defense, health, and intelligence missions. Grow your career beyond your imagination with meaningful work that matters at an award-winning top workplace. If you are driven by a vision of a better and more secure future, join us and apply now at gdit.com/careers.